Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank both of you for being here today as well. Thank you for your service. And of course, as I've discussed with both of you, I remain, I guess, deeply concerned about the proposal to retire the Iowa National Guard's 132nd Fighter Wings F-16s, as well as the broader budget decisions affecting the Air National Guard. I know this issue was brought up by Ranking Member Smith earlier as well. Roughly 130 airmen from the 132nd are currently deployed to Afghanistan or elsewhere across the globe. They've proven time and again that they are one of the most experienced, best performing fighter wings in the Air Force, maintaining a very high degree of readiness for some of the lowest personnel, maintenance, and flying costs of all F-16 units. As you know, in other words, this is a very, very effective unit by any measure. And while I'm still baffled by the proposal to retire the 132nd F-16s, I am deeply concerned about the budget proposals affecting the entire Air National Guard as well, which would bear, my understanding is, 59% of the total aircraft cuts and see most of their personnel reductions occur in FY13, if I'm not mistaken, which provides little leeway to reverse course from a strategy that is stated to be meant to be reversible. Given that the Air National Guard also plays a critical homeland security role for our states and our country at lower basing personnel and life cycle costs to the taxpayers, I have a couple of questions related to these issues. In your joint testimony, you state that the right mix of active duty and reserve components must be maintained, and I think we can all agree that that's the case. How did you determine the appropriate mix, what the appropriate mix would be, and what were the factors such as experience and personnel and operational costs that were taken into account? Could you be specific about the factors and the mix?
Sir, I go back to the rationale that we provided in the opening statement that I think we've been clear about. The issue here was where we could take risk in the force structure, and the DOD and Air Force decision collectively was that we could take additional risk in the fighter force structure. We've already taken significant reductions in the F-16 force, but the assessment was we could take an additional squadron this time around. The unit at Des Moines, while it continues to perform very, very well, there's no question about the competency and the capability of this unit. The aircraft are a little bit older and less capable than some others, and they are not participating in the Air Sovereignty Alert mission. This has not been a mission that's been assigned or associated with Des Moines for the North American Air Defense Command. So those were the factors that went into this particular decision. The issue on the active reserve component balance, I think the Chief has been very clear on. This is not just about the cost to operate the unit. This is how the unit fits into the force structure and how that force structure not only meets the demands of the strategy, but our ability to surge and then sustain combat operations going forward. And we've tried to strike the right balance. Our Air Force is now small enough that we have to go forward as one Air Force together and become more integrated going forward. As we get smaller, the requirements for readiness and immediate capability go up here. So these were the decisions that factored into the active ARC balance. And again, it's not, as you suggested, we understand the perception that the reductions are disproportionate on the Air Guard. Certainly that's the way the numbers fall in FY13. But this is a multi-year look backwards and forwards in terms of how we're going to structure our Air Force going forward, and we need the right balance of active duty and reserve components. So we don't break these components.
Yeah, just one quick historical question, because you mentioned certainly we've got to be able to deploy folks fairly quickly. Accessibility is an issue. I think it's an issue of the Guard. It's been raised as a concern. And I just have one question about that. Over the last 10 years, have there been any instances where the Air Guard has not been able to fulfill requests for deployment?
There have been no occasions where we did not, if we resorted to mobilization, where the Guard was not available. And there were very few cases when we relied on volunteer status of the Guardsmen. I would just say, sir, that the Guard and the Reserve are an essential part of our family, and we respect what they do. And in the case of your unit, sir, they're going to transition into a remotely piloted aircraft mission that clearly is for the ages.
Thank you. Thanks to both of you.
Thank you,
Chair.
Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.